This is Sensibility Speaks, and welcome to my channel. Today's commentary is for entertainment purposes only. So today we're going to be talking about jealousy and envy, honey, and how it is as cruel as the grave. And you really have to do your due diligence to guard your heart against envious and jealous people. We'll be listening to some excerpts from Cassandra Mack's Ministries, and I love her channel. And we'll intersperse some examples from Love and Marriage Huntsville, because that cast and crew of characters, they really have a lot of strife and a lot of envy going on, and it's pretty much targeted at the main cast member, the star, Miss Melodyholt. So let's get into it.
People who are so envious of you that they actually bring you death type of energy, graveyard energy. And jealousy, particularly jealousy rooted in envy, envious jealousy, is so dangerous that this is what the Bible has to say about it in the Song of Solomon 8 and 6. It tells us that jealousy is as cruel as the grave.
Those of you who have been watching Love and Marriage Huntsville since season 1, you can probably attest to how many of the cast members have seemingly made a pact and just really banded together just to turn on and to isolate Melody. And there's a one-to-one correlation just to the amount of hate she receives as her celebrity rises. So she garners more fans and supporters and more love. Yep, you can see the amount of hate she receives. But let's listen a little bit more.
An analogy of what jealousy does to the individual who is harboring the spirit of envious jealousy, and how that graveyard type energy can really try to harm us, and how you got to be really careful around people who are envious of you. Now, the Bible doesn't mince words. The Song of Solomon says jealousy is as cruel as the grave. Now, you know that an attribute has to really be serious to be compared to the grave. There are a lot of cruel things in this world, but ain't nothing really crueler than death. And so for the Bible to compare jealousy to a grave, think about what the grave represents. The grave represents death. And think about what death does to the body. And we're going to use that to draw the correlation of when you, as an individual who is part of the body of Christ, is experiencing envy at the hands of a hater.
Woo, Cassandra Mack is speaking an entire word. We all know that Martell was and still is jealous of his now former wife, Melody. She mentioned that you have to be very careful of being around people who are envious of you, which is clearly apparent. She uses the analogy that jealousy and envy is analogous to death. Now, when you think of Melody, as her star continued to rise, the envy and the jealousy increased and began to fester. And let's use Martell in this example. That man has single-handedly tried to ruin any shared relationship they may have. Like, case in point, those are his friends, Marceau and Maurice and the wives. And we all know that's how Melody met them. But I guess trying to side with their husbands, and because they too have their certain feelings toward Melody, they have an affinity to whatever their husbands do, because we know Maurice and Marceau got shit to hide. Marceau in particular, and Maurice ain't no saint. Martell has all of the dirt on them. So of course, they're going to influence their wives to go against Melody. But we know who the ringleader is, and he's like a puppet master, and he's playing games, and he's dangling the carrot, and he's pulling all the strings on a hate Melody campaign. He is the one that is spearheading that. But it's all because of his hate and jealousy. But let's talk about jealousy and envy. Now, keep in mind, they're two different things. Jealousy is wishing you had or wanting what someone has. And it's a fleeting emotion that can pass and can be triggered by insecurity. However, envy is not only wishing and wanting someone else has, their possessions. But you're also coveting to a point to where you don't want them to have the shit either. You know, it's one thing to want it yourself, or to be inspired, right? Or to aspire to have something, be like, oh gosh, that must be nice. But to not want someone else to have it, that's some deep shit. That's some evil shit. And think about Martell as it relates to Melody. So think about all of the speaking engagements that we used to see her do, like during the earlier seasons. You could see him like breathing in hate because she was receiving all of these accolades and all of the praise. He wanted that praise for himself. He didn't want her to have it. And then he felt that she didn't pat him on the back enough because he seeks external validation, whereas she's self-motivated. She didn't need anybody to motivate her. You know, with him, he needs someone stuck up his tush, oh hell, stuck up his ass, stroking his ego, cues in coleslaw, Arion. But let's listen to Miss Mac a little bit more. And keep in mind, I don't want to play her entire video. I just want to play little snippets to support the point.
To grow, right? And we don't take it to God, and we pretend, well, I ain't a hater. And you know good and well that that individual is hating, and they stew in that, and they're really coveting. I don't just want a man, I want your man. I don't just want a job, I want your job, and I'm going to sabotage you. I don't just want a wife, I want your wife. I don't just want, and so you can substitute whatever the thing is that the individual is coveting. And so envy and coveting go hand in hand. A person is coveting something that you have. And so there's a reason the Bible tells us do not covet, and then it goes into the different things that we should not covet. So we got to guard our heart against that. When we sense that we're in that emotional space with somebody, we got to take it to God, right? God created me a clean heart, renew a right spirit in me. I don't want to be this way. I don't want to feel this way. This is not healthy. This is not good. This does nothing for my psychological well-being and my emotional resilience and health. Take it out of me, prune me. So with that being said, there are some people who are not of that mindset. They're not going to take it to God. They're going to pretend that they're so perfect. They're going to pretend that this could never happen, and they let that envy grow. And so the thing is, jealousy is as cruel as the grave. Like, jealousy will make people do cruel things.
Who comes to mind now? So when you think about jealousy and envy, let's talk about Miss Letitia Scott, or shall I say Mrs. Letitia Scott. Lord knows if I don't put that Mrs. in front of her name to acknowledge that woman's marriage, okay, she have a damn fit. But you think back to the earlier seasons when Melody showed her the blueprint, and when she was trying to take Tisha pretty much under her wing, getting her out of the house, whereas her misogynistic husband, you know, wanted her just to be a housewife, no matter how many degrees that she had. He thought she was just doing it for fun. Basically, he just wanted to stifle her. He didn't want to see her grow. But Melody, being the friend that she was to her at that time, was like, come on, girl, let me take you out. Let me introduce you to some people. Let's network. Let's get this thing going. That wasn't good enough for Tisha. No. Girlfriend couldn't be like an apprentice, right? Because you got to kind of crawl before you walk. I'm not saying she had to kiss Melody's ass because Melody was trying to help her. I'm not saying that at all. But she could have learned and gleaned information from Melody, learning just in terms of how to network and meeting people, and just kind of just establishing herself in that business setting, since she likes to hobnob as well. No. She wanted to be Melody. Okay. She didn't just want to have them both shine in terms of getting her real estate license and her broker's license, whatever it is that Tisha's doing, or however she's helping her husband. She wanted to be, no. She's like, fuck that. I want to be the it girl. You're the belle of the ball. No, scram, move over. I want to be that bitch. As opposed to them both shining. No, that's what jealousy and envy is. Not saying that she wanted Melody's husband. Oh, hell, let's go there. She may have some envy in terms of Melody's looks, maybe. I think she's a beautiful woman. And I'm not even going to just say a beautiful chocolate woman, because I hate when people say, oh, they're cute to be brown, or no, damn that. But I think she may have some insecurities because Wanda is her mom, And I think she may also have some issues with her color, right? And I think her mom instilled that into her. And I'm not just making this up. She told Marceau that when they were having that conversation about being on the other side of the tracks or whatever. She said that's something that she suffered from. And so Melody is not high yellow or the lightest thing out there, but she's on the lighter side. So that could be an envy. She may envy the fact that Melody has that certain it factor, that je ne sais quoi. She can command a room. She can hold her own. When she comes in, all eyes on her. I think Tisha envies that. She's not just jealous of that. She wants to be that person. And not only does she want to be that person, I don't think she wants Melody at this point to be that person. So you just have to be very careful. And we can see how the seasons over time has unfolded. And as Melody has, as I said before, got a lot of fans, and she got what, like 15,000 followers on IG. And we all know the different things that she's doing, the partnerships with the Jay Bolin, walking on New York Fashion Week, her property preservation business, all of the things that she's doing to thrive, and different types of attention and things she's getting. I think she's ruffling everybody's on a cast feather for the most part. They're all jealous. Hell, let me tell it. Let's listen to Miss Mack a little bit more, because I want to spend a little bit more time on that.
Jealousy is as cruel as the grave. Now think about how when the body starts to decompose, my God, when the body starts to decompose, you will notice that where there were once eyes, there's maggots. And so a hater want to bring you that maggot energy, and they want to eat your eyes. Spiritually, your eyes represent what you're focusing on. Your eyes represent your vision. If you remember the story of Samson and Delilah, the Philistines were so jealous of Samson. Here was this strong, virile man, strongest man. And they used Delilah to bring him down. And she kept saying, what's the secret to your strength? What's the secret to your strength? In other words, where are you vulnerable? And he trusted the wrong woman. And they chopped off his locks. His locks represented his commitment to God. But really they were after his vision, because as the story progresses, they gouge his eyes out, the Philistines. Your eyes represent what you're focused on. And so when you're focusing on making your life better, your healing, your mental health, whatever your goals are, be they financial, career, professional, mental, business, relationship, self-growth, whatever those goals are, when you have a person with graveyard energy around you, because jealousy is as cruel as the grave, do not play with this. Do not lie to yourself. You can have a person who's related to you by blood coming at you with graveyard energy. You could be sleeping with the enemy, if you remember that movie with Julia Roberts. And so you can have a person with graveyard energy. Call a thing, because when you are walking in truth, it sets you free. There's freedom in truth.
And that the Philistines were jealous of Samson, and they used Delilah to lure him in, to find his weak spots and his vulnerabilities. And that's Bible. So let's stay right here. So the Scott brothers, Marceau in particular, in my opinion, were jealous of Martell and Melody's success, because the former Holts, they were pillars of the community, of the Huntsville town, or what have you. They were the epitome of a power couple. And it's funny, as narcissistic and egotistical as Martell is, he is equally as gullible. In his quest to be one of the guys and seeking acceptance from the Scott brothers, he began to just recklessly cheat, okay? He just didn't give a shit. So don't get me wrong, I believe he always was sneaky, but after he started hanging out with them, he took his cheating to a whole new level, to hell with whatever respectable cheating he thought he was doing. So he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. He's not the brightest crayon in the box. And the Scott brothers, in my opinion, they coveted what Martell and Melody had. Hell, they tried to trick him out of his spot. And did. Well, almost. Not quite. But yeah, basically they wanted to be them. Marceau and Tisha in particular wanted to be that power couple. Not happening. And in a nutshell, those guys aren't his friends, and I believe they encouraged him to cheat, allegedly. But Martell was covered by proxy when he was with Melody because she's anointed. And just by being with her, he had everything. Now he's lost everything. He's like an emperor without a coat. And the sad part is the Scott brothers, they laughed when Martell and Melody were going through the divorce, and they're laughing even harder now that he's lost everything. Meanwhile, this fool, Martell, he takes his frustrations out on Melody because he doesn't want to be accountable for his actions. But I digress. Let's continue. We're almost finished.
So they really want your vision. They want your focus. Just how the maggots eat out the eyes. They want to take your sight. You will have haters trying to be a maggot in your life. If you have your sights set on writing a book, growing your YouTube channel, setting boundaries with toxic people, there will be people who will come at you with maggot-like graveyard energy. Now, you ain't got to call people maggots. We ain't trying to have fights that are unnecessary. But for your own self-awareness, you need to respect the fact that jealousy is as cruel as the grave. The Bible wouldn't tell you that unless it was true. The Bible wouldn't tell us that where there is envy and self-seeking, there are two things to be on the lookout for: confusion and every evil work. Not some, every. Honey, envy will have people murdering people. Watch the ID channel. Whether it's greed, you want what they have. Whether it's coveting something. But envy will have people doing all kind of evil things. There's every evil work, not some. Any evil work that you think of, somewhere in there, there's some envy. And it's going to be confusion. Whether confusion comes in the form of gaslighting you, trying to manipulate you, whether it comes in the form of throwing mud on your name and involving you in things that ain't got nothing to do with you, whether it comes in the form of rumor spreading, that's all confusion. It's discord and confusion. Smiling in your face while talking about you behind your back, that's confusion. Gotta watch for that.
So when I think about someone being covetous, hell, Destiny comes to mind. She comes right to the forefront. Because think about it. Melody was able to get a divorce. She's very resilient. She was able to build herself back up after having to dissolve all of those businesses with Martell and then having to reestablish herself despite the fact she did file bankruptcy. She's in a beautiful home. She has her cars, and I know that may sound like, oh, that's just material things. It doesn't matter, goddamn. She's able to do it, right? She's able to send her kids to private schools, whereas Destiny has one child to her four. Her ex-husband, LeBarrett, hell, he paid for her to stay in the house for like a year, allegedly. So stuff like that. Melody decided that she wants to start a music career. Here come Destiny ass. I'm like, goddamn. I was just like, monkey see, monkey do. I mean, these chicks on this show are just straight single black female between her and that damn hating ass Tisha, right? Also, somebody being envious and covetous. Martell, we already talked about him. He's jealous that people love Melody. She gets a lot of accolades. She gets a lot of love. And people hate on like the craziest shit. So it's not always the most obvious things that one would think that someone would be jealous or covetous of. But the thing is with this cast, not only are they jealous, but they're envious because they don't want her to have shit. Basically, they want Melody's life. You can never be friends with someone who wants your life. Ever, ever, ever. It'll never work. Never. But let's continue.
It goes even deeper when you think about jealousy being as cruel as the grave, right? And so when you think about the body when the body dies, there is a process called rigor mortis. And rigor mortis is a post-mortem change resulting in the stiffening of the body muscles where the body cannot move. And when rigor mortis sets in, The physical body is heavy. That's why dead bodies are heavy. When you're dealing with a person bringing you graveyard energy, they will try to infect you with spiritual rigor mortis, where you can't really move like you want to move, where you have the desire to grow, you have the desire to heal, you have the desire to move forward, but you feel like something has a hold on you. Baby, that's spiritual rigor mortis. If you around haters and envious people, it's like you take 2 steps forward and they constantly saying and doing things to make you feel like you lower than a roach.
So speaking of spiritual rigor mortis, think about the cast of Love and Marriage Huntsville. They are trying to contain Melody. They are trying to pin her down. They see her the way that she was before she blew up, right? But she's way out of their league. And when you think of Martell specifically, he's trying to keep her in Huntsville. He keeps taking her to court. He wants full custody of the kids, knowing damn well he don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, living in his mama's basement. But I digress. But by him doing that, that forces her to stay in Huntsville. She can't move freely unless she gets primary custody, right? So if she's a primary custodial parent, she can move about. But, saying this to say, that cast is really like an albatross around her neck. And it's just terrible that they're trying to put their foot on her neck. They're trying to throw darts and daggers, almost like she's Hester Prynne in a Scarlet Letter. She can't help it that she's great, but they're trying to bring her down.
Man after God's own heart, David from the Bible, but make no mistake about it, David was a warrior and a military strategist. So much so that not only did he conquer Goliath, but when he would go out to war, the people would come out and cheer for him louder than they cheered for King Saul. And King Saul became envious of him and was like, well, what more does he want? The throne? See, he was threatened by the love that people had. He was threatened by David's greatness. He was threatened by the fact that David had a warrior's spirit. He was threatened by David's greatness. So there can even be people who were in higher positions than you, right? Because the king was in a higher position than David. They could make more money than you, have more material things than you, but still be jealous of the anointing, God's anointing on your life. That's that graveyard energy. Jealousy is as cruel as the grave. From celebrating David for destroying Goliath to wanting David murdered.
Listening to the David and Goliath analogy, think of Carlos King, quite frankly. In the beginning of the show, he would tell anyone willing to listen that Melody was and is the star of the show and how much he loved her. Now, fast forward to now, he seems to be envious, quite frankly. I mean, hell, I don't know if he has a crush on Martell or just what it is, but I'm not going to go there. But as Melody's growing star power increased and she garnered supporters and fans, the envy increased, even from him. But quiet as it's kept, Carlos wants to be the star of the show, low-key. He reminds me of Diddy wanting to be all up in the damn rap videos versus staying behind the scenes in production. Hello. But in my opinion, he planted seeds of discourse to the cast members, telling them in order to become top dog that you have to come for the queen's spot. And that just happens to be Melody Cherie, right? So you had everyone from Basement Billy, who should have never been on the show, to Wanda J. Blige, and the other cast members, we already discussed them, just coming for her needlessly, trying to come for her spot. However, you can't compete where you don't compare. So let's listen to the last snippet and close out.
Don't let these grave-minded people, don't let people with graveyard energy make you change your energy. I hear a lot of people say, well, I'm matching energy. No, you don't want to match graveyard energy. You don't want to match that energy. You want to come up higher. Why would you want to match something that's dead? You trying to be into rigor mortis is setting in? No, you don't want to be that person. Not if you got goals and dreams. Not if you're a believer. Fret not thyself for these evildoers. And understand that they may come at you with their graveyard energy, but you are not defenseless. Put on your helmet of truth. Every time somebody tries to gaslight you with a lie, every time somebody tries to make you believe that who you are is not enough, and you know that you are God's handiwork and his workmanship, every time somebody tries to make you believe that you are lower than a roach, and you know that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, every time somebody makes you believe that you'll never be nothing in life, and you know that your gifts will make room for you, so that has to be the lie, that you'll never be anything in life. That's the lie, because your gifts, not my gifts, not Sally, Susie's, Bob's, or Bill's, but your gifts make room for you. So you're going to have to put on your helmet of salvation, because the mind of Christ is going to help you to think correctly. You got to think on purpose. You can't leave your thoughts to their own devices. You got to cast down imaginations. You got to take your thoughts captive. That's another way of saying monitor your inner dialogue and manage your thinking. Haters gonna hate, that's what they do. Pray for your haters, but don't match their energy. You let them keep that graveyard energy if that's what they choose to do. That's on them. You go to your God place. And here we are focusing on our 5 spiritual G's. So you keep the energy of God, your goals, your growth, your greatness, and bringing God glory through every facet of your life. The haters will hate, but you keep being great.